hello. I hope everyone's well. Need some coffee to get going. Oh, that hits the spot. It's going to get warm now while I'm driving, isn't it? Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all super excellent and doing wonderfully. I keep looking at the TV screen as if the camera's there because I was doing Instagram Live the other day. It's down here. You're there. I can see you. Looking good, by the way. So you join me for the first race of the My Team career mode with McKinley Engineering, and everyone looking fine and dapper. We have Jordan King as a teammate, and both of us qualified rather well. How we achieved this was by where a lot of people have tried to balance the strengths and weaknesses of their first car. I've gone hyper specialised, mostly aero with a bit of chassis, and I've just accepted that the power unit is garbage. That means we're going to struggle at Monza, we're going to struggle at Spa, we're going to struggle at Azerbaijan, but we're also going to do very well street circuits like Australia, like Monaco. The car seems a bit heavy on its tyres. I'm running a default setup because I just haven't had the time or patience to spend time doing setup work yet, but I have to because these games, your performance lives or dies on your setup really, and if you don't set up your car, then not only are you slower, but of course you fuck your tyres. Don't even bite dinner first. I wanted to upgrade some of our facilities, but that's not possible right now. What I will do though is I will stick an update on our power unit. Right, without any further ado, let's go. Now I'm doing short races, at least in the first season. It's a better way for me to show off the game, I think. And we can see what happens as the season progresses. Contracts for your drivers seem to renew every 6 races or so. So I guess we'll see mid-season driver market moves. I don't know, but so far no reason to be unhappy with Jordan King, who's doing it as talented here as he is in real life. I hope to see him enough. Oh. And obviously, the risk of me binning it at race against the AI. Yeah, I've just been quallying. That's like
since 1996, and home to round 1 of this year's Formula
Hello,
1
Jesus.
Town Business Centre is the one and only Albert Park circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy circuit with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake and a
they haven't re-recorded Crofty's intro before.
Into turns 1, 3 and 13. Can Mercedes start with victory in their bid to win a 7th consecutive Constructors' title? Could Ferrari or Red Bull establish an advantage early on? And with 22 cars on the grid, how quickly can the new team find their footing? Well, it's great to be back, Anthony Davidson. We've got a lot to talk about this year.
That's right, Crofty. It felt like a long winter, but it's good to finally be back. I have to think the usual suspects will battle it out at the front, but there are always going to be some teething problems early on in the season, so whoever can keep on top of their issues will have the advantage today.
As I mentioned earlier, we're up to 11 teams this season, with a new entry run by, well, of all things, an owner-driver. That's something we haven't seen in this sport.
I'm a man of many
since
talents,
Hector
Crofty.
over 4 decades ago. So how
It's hard to imagine how a small operation like that could survive in the ruthless world of Formula 1, and yet here they are.
Fuck you, Anthony Davidson.
Surprisingly
What have I done to you?
But there are no points for qualifying. Let's see how they fare in the Grand Prix proper.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position. And
Oh, it's imitating life there.
Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Max Verstappen and Albon, Sainz, Ricciardo, Ocon and Sergio Perez, Norris, Stroll, Kimi Raikkonen, Williams, Magnussen, Fiat, Pierre Gasly and Antonio Giovinazzi, King, Grosjean, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Right, I've been notoriously bad on race starts for the last 2 versions of this game, and I don't suspect this one's going to be any different. I've tried following all the guidance, modulate your revs, to start in lead mode, to minimise wheel spin and everything, but I bog down every time. So we're going to lose places on the start. The question is, can we get them back over race distance? Everyone will be on a one-stop strategy because we're doing very short races, at least for now.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
What strategy are we on? Yep, that makes perfect sense to me. 7 laps on the soft, 8 laps on the medium. We're dry throughout. And Parc Fermé is in effect. Okay. Hope I've got enough fuel on board. I guess we'll soon find out. I still don't know what the deal is with the overtake button. So in this, you press L1 and it presses the overtake button. And what happens is the light on the dash there, on the wheel, changes between orange and green. I don't know which one means it's on. You'd think it'd be like green and red. Because orange implies it's draining something. So I have no fucking idea. I guess we'll try and figure it out as we go. Oh, actually I had quite a good start there. I chickened out. I got scared. Okay, not to be so aggressive on the overtakes. That's what we've learned there. Okay, the car's a bit too understeery to go flat through there. But we're holding onto the back of Stroll quite nicely. So that's good. Although
Position on lap 1. That's not great, but it's not terrible. Stay focused.
and of course this is a chance to see how Jeff's been updated for this year. I hate when cars ahead of me are so close together. I have to say though, this is definitely not the worst car I've ever driven in career mode. And the Honda engine sound effects are so authentic. I'm loving that. Alright, let's see if we can't get past any of these guys down into turn 1. I might have to wait for DRS to be activated. Yeah, he's got a Mercedes power unit, so he's going to just pull away from me there, but once I have drag reduction, we might have a chance. Kvyat making a move. Let's close him off. I don't really want to spend too much time fighting the car behind me because that's how you lose the cars ahead of you. So I'm just going to keep pushing to get by Stroll and trust that that keeps me ahead of Daniel Kvyat, who has the fortune of being in the best looking car on the grid, I think. But you know, if I finish 14th, that would be a hell of a result for a new team on the first race. I'd be very happy with that. But the fact that I can see points ahead of me, that tells me that I've got to keep pushing. Got to keep pushing. I have to take a different line through that corner, but it seems to work better when I do. The car feels a lot better under braking following cars ahead than it did in the last game. What usually happened was you had a braking distance for the car that you got used to. And just as in real life, almost lost it there. Just as in real life, when you were following another car closely, you'd hit the brake button at the same place you normally would, and then you'd overshoot it massively.
Enable this lap. You can use it when within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
No. Stop nudging me, Daniel Kvyat. It's not cool. Ah, I see what L1 does now. Okay, no more mistakes. Let's try and get up and tackle.
Battery charge is high. Let's use that overtake button more.
Okay, then I shall. The car is very fuel efficient. I've gained 0.01 of a lap, so don't need to worry about that, which is good. I wonder where Jordan is. Ooh. Teammate update.
Say again, you're breaking up.
See, the problem with Jeff is that he's a notorious racist, and he can't handle the northern accent. So I'll say things like medium tyre, and he'll go, you what, mate? I can't understand. Maybe you'd be happier down a coal mine. Teammate update.
We're leading our teammate by 3.9 seconds. They're on old softs. The time last lap was a 1 minute 28.9.
Who am I racing?
Okay, here's who we're really fighting today. Stroll and Giovinazzi.
Don't know why it's randomly picked Giovinazzi out of its arse. Oh, because he got past Kvyat behind me. See, what you're seeing here as well is what I was talking about, right? That racing point ahead with the Mercedes power unit and the Alfa with the Ferrari. On the straight sections of the track, they kind of disappear a bit, but you can see how I close up to them in the corners, and that makes me very, very happy. I can deal with a power deficit in this game. What I can't deal with is a car that just won't do what I want it to. That's when the frustration sets in and you make even more mistakes than I've already been making. You know, I don't mind a slow car as long as I feel like I can drive it on the limit. This handling model definitely suits me better than last year's as well. I haven't had a single accident yet, touch wood. And in the last version of the game, as you'll know if you've been watching the podcast, I drop it at basically every Grand Prix. I'm in Durs range. I don't want to do a racism by accident because I don't know what language that sponsor logo on the rear wing is. I just want to say it looks good. Ooh, Stroll gets by Raikkonen. The door's still open for Benny Boy. Come on. Which way is he going to move? He's going to try and force me around the outside. You're a very naughty boy, Kimi Raikkonen. But look at that. Stroll clearly has the pace on him. I wonder if Raikkonen's got a low battery charge or something. I got a bit scared there of running into the back of Raikkonen, so... The car's just better on the brakes than I'm used to, which it shouldn't be a complaint, but it's making me slower. I'm going to get past this guy somewhere. Only by cutting the corner.
Okay, you need to give that position back. That was an illegal overtake.
Yeah, I didn't want to have an accident though, did I, Jeff? And I could see as I was going for the overtake, it was a bad place to try and overtake, and he was going to turn into me and we were both going to crash. So I drove through the runoff. But I am faster than him. Let's turn the engine up.
We pretty much burned off our excess fuel. We'll be back on target soon. Don't wait too long to turn the engine down.
Yeah, just let me get past Raikkonen and then we're good. Okay, in the slipstream. Make the stamp and send it. Oh no. I'm allowed one. Oh, you swine. That's a new nose that we're going to need.
Mind that front wing. It'll need replacing if it takes too much damage. Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
Confirm change.
Copy that.
Well, I mean, the AI are definitely fun to race. It was a bit naughty of me sticking my nose where I did, and now I'm paying the price because I've lost an end plate and it makes it hard to follow him through the fast corners, which is the only place this car is fast. So we're going to pit early, swap the nose, stick on some new tyres, and we're going to try and beat him through hopefully the undercut. But I've got a feeling if the AI is as advanced as they've been claiming, he's going to pit on the same lap as me to counter. No, he didn't. Okay, so we're coming in early, we're going to swap that nose. Let's see what colours our pit crew are in. Pretty much all white, that kind of sucks. A bit more purple, please. Okay, so we're losing a lot of time changing that nose.
Go, go, go.
But hopefully it pays off.
Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
Daniel Ricciardo down in 20th. That's not good. What happened to him? Don't know who gave me DRS there. You know, the car actually feels a little better on these tyres than it did on the softs, which is weird. It's probably not faster, but it definitely seems to handle better. And I was hoping they'd do something like that with the tyres, and maybe it's just in my imagination, but the difference between the tyre compounds in this game were a little too exaggerated. And you know, there should be a difference because there is a difference in real life. It's just, it was never as big as the game was making it out to be. What I'm happy with so far though is that we definitely have a car quicker than the Williams and quicker than the Haas's. And that's actually a better start than anyone I've seen on other playthroughs, because they've all done the usual try and balance everything out. Okay, we've just beaten two cars out of the pits. Gasly managed to pit and get out ahead of us, which shows how much time we'd lost changing that wing.
The car behind has boxed for the mediums. Car behind on the medium tyre.
Still harvesting battery power, and we will deploy it all to get past Gasly, who we are definitely faster than. Just got to focus now, no more mistakes, because it was the mistakes that have cost me, you know, 13th or 12th position. I'll shut up a little bit.
Our gap to the car in front is 2.2 seconds. The gap to the car behind is 3.6 seconds.
Okay, my teammate's in the pits.
Coming in for a stop.
Must be kind of awkward having the team boss as your teammate, because you know you're never going to get the best treatment. I always felt sorry for whoever was Bruce McLaren's teammate when he founded his team. Gasly and Giovinazzi. So really, by the end of that, we've only lost one place to the wing change. Two, but really only one, because we were never really... You bastard. We were never really racing Gasly to begin with. I have to basically never attempt an overtake unless I'm 110% sure I can get through the gap. Like that.
Green flag.
Oh, he's retiring. That's why he took my wing off. He had some kind of engine failure right in front of me. What I was hoping for is that Codemasters would add failures into the game for the player, but I don't think they have. And, you know, it'd be fine to have an option to turn it on or off, but I kind of like my car to burst into flames occasionally. I think it just... Particularly now there's a My Team mode, I think it offers a great gameplay opportunity because, you know, do you go for the best performing car or the most reliable? And the engine has a reliability score, but I know all that affects really seems to be the wear rate on the components. And given I have grid penalties for breakfast in this game because I am a little bit hard on particularly gearboxes, even though I'm very nimble on the tyres.
Okay, we've got plenty of energy. Use the overtake button and have a go.
Yeah, we do. Actually, I have to say, I was complaining about the overtake button at the start of the stream, but I actually prefer it. I like just the on or off dynamic rather than the 5 different modes that you have to switch to in the MFD that always cause me to crash because you're driving one-handed while you're trying to flick all these little switches on the control pad or on the wheel. Got a bit of dirty air off the back of his Alfa Romeo there. That sent me a bit skew-if.
We have 5 laps of fuel remaining.
I don't have a lot of charge left, so yeah, we're derating. So I'll switch off overtake mode because we've caught up to it now and we can rely on the slipstream and the DRS. We won't get by him here, but we might down into turn 1 if we play our cards right. Back into overtake mode. No, he's got the legs on me there, hasn't
Keep
he?
managing your tyres. Manage your tyres.
How are my tyres? They've been better. I really thought that was the precursor to a major accident then. Come on, let me through. There we go. A nice clean overtake for once.
Good job, nice overtake.
It was, wasn't it? Thanks, Jeff. And I appreciate you not trying to kill me for once, Jeff, by telling me things like, let's switch to slick tyres in heavy rain.
Okay, gap ahead is 3.2 seconds.
Okay, we'll harvest some more energy. Need to get out of DRS range of this guy because he's definitely got a faster power unit than I have. Should have bought us enough of a gap. I'm trying not to push too hard because I don't really want to be replacing
Our
all
gap on the
the...
car behind by around a second a lap.
Yeah, I think he's got me here. So the AI are still a little clumsy when it comes to making their passes. I mean, I was ahead there. Hello there, mate. How are you? Thank you for joining.
There's 3 laps of fuel remaining.
Well, that's convenient because there's 3 laps left in the race. I don't think we're going to get past Raikkonen, but for a very, very first race in a brand new car for a brand new team, I'm pleased with this. This is a good showing. Thank you, mate. Thank you, and I'm glad to hear you're well. It's a lovely day here. I don't know about where you are, but that said, I'm not going outside. This new game is too good. I have to stay in. I have to stay in and enjoy it. And our teammate, actually, Jordan King, look at him, up in 15th. So he also has improved over his qualifying position. This is a very, very good start for the team. Still harvesting energy, still keeping Giovinazzi and his glorious hair behind us. Well, if this doesn't unlock some new sponsors for us, I don't know what will. Now, it seems whatever the pit pass is, it's still not working. When I was on last night, I tried to access it, and it told me it's live in 14 minutes, so I waited. And then, when I woke up this morning, I had a notification saying that I'd earned 15,000 pit points. And these are the points you spend to unlock new helmet designs and liveries and so on. Because I was very disappointed that everything's kind of locked, so the car doesn't look very good and I can't have the helmet design I usually have. This morning after that notification I tried to go and then spend the pit points to at least get my helmet back, and I couldn't access it. There was some kind of error. But in Codemaster's defence, that is pretty much the only bug I've had, apart from at the start of this race where we saw Jesus with a race engineer walking on the lake in the middle of the park. But you know, if I was going to walk on the lake, it's as good a lake as any, I suppose. Car's still a little understeery in some of these corners. Another aim of mine for this week is to take a look at what's causing trouble in my Mac. Because Grand Prix World needs to come back. I really want to finish that playthrough. I've been itching to get back to it, but for some reason it's not working. I can't get anything to work. So everything's dismantled at the moment all over my floor. Battery's a little over half
There's
full.
only 1 lap of fuel remaining.
Oh, Charles Leclerc retires, so that gives us another position by default. That puts us up to P12 once we get past him. That's good news.
Yellow flag.
So we've had two retirements. Sorry, 3. It's a double DNF actually for the AlphaTauris, which makes me feel a bit sad. Daniel Kvyat turning in on us at turn 3 and breaking his own wing, and then at some point retiring. Then we lost Pierre Gasly to what looked like an engine failure, and now we've lost Charles
This is
Leclerc.
your final lap of the race.
Well, both our cars have made it. Just click that overtake button. If we hadn't have damaged our wing, we might have had a crack at points. Excellent question, mate. I was told that they hadn't. However, I saw that the Williams has the new livery already, and it looks fantastic. It looks so good. So the Williams, they have updated. The Mercedes is still silver in this game, but I imagine there'll be a week 1 patch to correct any issues with multiplayer, and in that I guess the artists will update the Mercedes livery as well. But the McLaren livery is updated too. That has the rainbow design from We Racers 1 on it. The Williams has the rainbow halo. As far as I can tell, everything except the Mercedes is bang up to date. And I guess it's because the Mercedes is just going to be a lot more work. Boom.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
You could be a bit more cheerful, Jeff. I mean, come on. 12th out of 22 cars. Oh, there's a driver of the day now. I love that there's a driver of the day. Like a proper one. That's good. Yeah, me too. The McLaren rainbow design looks really good. I love McLaren. I can't help myself. I just do. And I think the rainbow trailing on the end of the side pods is moi. It's gorgeous. I wouldn't have voted for me either, mate. Alexander Albon taking P5. I felt so bad for him at the weekend. Did you see the race, mate? It was excellent. I really enjoyed it. It's been a while since a race has had me that hyped up, to be honest, because it was just incidents every minute. There was always something going on. And I thought Albon's overtake was actually really good on Hamilton.
I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today.
Something they have added in, by the way, mate, is you can choose your podium celebration, which is a bigger deal to me than probably to most people, but I got tired of seeing the same podium celebrations every time, so now there should be a bit more variation. Like, this is new. And I chose the one that looked the least hysterical, because there's 3 unlocked at the start of the game, and 2 of them look like you're having a seizure. So I chose the most reserved one.
Passes his rival to take over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
It's got to be Valtteri Bottas. A commanding performance.
Oh,
I think had the
that must have been a bug then. I guess it was trying to show like voting in progress or something.
Mercedes moved to the top of the table.
So,
after an event like that, who knows what the sport
who
has
had
in
a
store
bad
for us
Grand
next
Prix?
time. Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
Yep, thanks, Crofty, whatever. Pierre Gasly was actually our only DNF. I thought Daniel Kvyat had also DNF'd, but apparently not. Esteban Ocon had some kind of incident because he stopped twice, although he was very fast. Look at his 1:26.158. That's pretty solid pace, actually. Charles Leclerc did retire, but so close to the end that he still qualified. Russell beat Latifi. Grosjean beat Magnussen, although Magnussen had an excellent qualifying. I beat my teammate Jordan King, but he gained 5 places over the race, so that tells me the car's good, and he was a good choice. Bottom end of the points, Stroll and Perez picking up 3 points for Racing Point. Carlos Sainz in P8, Danny Rick P7. And we have Bottas, Verstappen, Hamilton podium, Sebastian Vettel finishing 4th, Rothel lol. I guess it'll take a while for them to patch in him being completely inept at the moment. I don't know what's going on with him. I think he's an excellent driver, but he's just had a shocking 2 seasons. He really has. Let's advance and let's see if we get some new sponsors. New sponsor dance. That's what I want. I want some new sponsors so I can update my livery. And see, I really like these race overalls if that purple stripe in the middle, it can just move up a little bit so the cool, don't want to do a racism, but I don't know what language it is, logo can sort of fit in the middle. We got a solid payout there in terms of cash, bringing our budget up to 1.16 million. Of course, we've got some overheads to cover. That's not quite enough to upgrade our facilities, I don't think. I think we need about 2 million. But what I'm aiming for is, rather than investing in this season's car, I'd like to build the foundation of the team. I don't know if I really want to focus on marketability or just allow the results to do that. Yeah, I agree. The pit crew outfits, I'd like to be able to personalise the team wear, because when I saw other people playing and I saw that sort of faded design that the old McLaren uniforms used to have, I thought, oh, that's excellent. I wonder what other options there are, but it turns out there are no other options. Okay, I'm not going mad. That podium pass button is flashing, so I'm going to hit L3, hit look. Yep, nothing. Let me spend the money. I earned the monies. Yes. So I was worried that you'd be locked in to where you can place your sponsors and that it would just sort of populate automatically, but it's not. There's a livery editor, and you can choose where to place them. Now, you can't freely move it doesn't seem, but you can at least design your livery. What I love as well is that all the facilities have a screen like this. let's have a wee look around. Oh, hold on. We have a sponsor available. Who can we have? Oh, quite a lot of people want to deal with us. So, we have to balance contract length against weekly income and a goal we can actually achieve. So this one's really easy. Answer at least 2 interview questions during a race weekend. I'd be doing that anyway. That gives us 117k plus 78k a week. That's actually not too bad, but there are some that are in the 80s and 90s. What's the goal here? Overtake 15 different drivers during a race. That's not going to happen. 10 Constructors Champ. That's not going to happen. I also want to pick something with a badass logo. That's the classic. You're a man after my own heart. That's what you need. You need a petroleum-based sponsor, a tobacco sponsor, and a tech sponsor. That's what you need. I actually thought in early versions of this game that it told you what these companies were supposed to be, but it hasn't bothered. Oh, that is a beautiful German compound word. Gedankenübertragung. I'm going to get shouted at for not pronouncing that correctly, but I've got a frog in my throat this morning. Complete a race with no DNFs within the team. That gives us 81.6k a week plus 96k. Chinese beer sponsor. I like to think that's what my first sponsor was, but I don't know if it's Chinese. It actually looks like Korean characters, but again, I don't want to do a racism by accident by saying they all look alike. Duotone, what are you offering? 61k. That's come back to me when you've got a decent offer. Fastest lap during a race. That's not going to happen. As a team, complete a total of 75 laps during a race weekend. Normally, I'd take that actually, but I'm doing short races at the moment, so we can get through the first season. I'm going to go with. Don't know. Do you have a preference? Maybe you're seeing something I've missed. I prefer more weekly income over a big goal, to be honest. Yeah, everything's a weird contract length, mate. The driver contracts are for 6 races, which does seem a little odd, but I guess like they've play tested this and maybe people don't have. I mean, I don't know many people who get as many seasons into career mode as people like me or Simon do, or perhaps yourself. A lot of people mostly get it for the multiplayer, and they don't have the patience to stretch this mode out, which is totally fine. You know, everyone's got their own way of playing, but it'd be nice to have the option to have more realistic contract lengths. Okay, I think JPB is a good option. Equator Oil. Blue Star. Weekly goal, defeat teammate. Where did you see that? I'm going to scroll through now. No, none of them are offering that. I'm going to go for... No, I'm not going to get the fastest lap. I'm going to take this superb German compound word. See, I think Polar, Atlantic, and Blue Star or Duotone would look best on our livery. That is the rule. If it looks fast, it is fast. But I'm going to take this because I have a perverse love of German compound words. And we can meet that goal. So I'll head over to customization to the car livery, and we will add our new sponsor. I will put you here. I don't like that I can't change the size. That's not cool. Does it automatically put it in the right colour? No, it keeps it white. So I have to change the colour. See, that's also a quality of life feature that I would appreciate, because there's no colour codes in this game. So when I find the shade of purple I like, it's hard to match it again, but I think that's it. I'm just going to stick that there, and yeah, we need to be able to change the size. But yeah, this is a huge improvement, this game, mate. It's definitely worth picking up if you haven't already. I don't think it's worth paying extra for the Schumacher edition, because it just adds some liveries that you can't change. They're fixed and you'd never use them. And I believe you get all the classic cars anyway. So yeah, it's not really worth the extra money. I only bought the Schumacher version because I wanted to stream on launch night, and I'm not popular enough to get a copy of the game from Codemasters for free 2 days before launch. Okay, not the livery I would have gone with, but out of all our options, that doesn't look too bad so far. Hopefully we can unlock some new ones. Now, what happens here is you have a calendar, like in the FIFA games, if you've ever played at the FIFA career mode or manager mode. So it's like a calendar that you advance through, and you can fill the time slots with activities. So it's 3 days before we leave for Bahrain, and we have options about what we want to do. GeForce training, which improves our second driver's racecraft. Promotional filming, which boosts driver acclaim. Power team building, so we spend 5k and boost our powertrain team. Or a fundraiser for a sponsor to improve our marketability, and I'm going to do that. In terms of other stuff, let's take a look what facilities we have. Let's take a look at durability. It's going to cost. See, I love this. This is your durability department, and as you can see, it's really basic. It's like a garage on an industrial estate, and as we go up the ranks, the factory should become better and better looking. Here's a question for you. Do you think the teamwear would look nicer if it was purple fading into white? Because I get the feeling that it would. The downside is that the logo would disappear a bit. It's actually quite hard to make something look good. And I like the livery the way it is on the car, so it's a bit odd. Then we've got the chassis department. So that's basically one of your race bays. And I love that they've modelled the car with the nose off and everything. I think that looks really cool. I'm such a Formula 1 geek. Aerodynamics. It's a guy with a garden hose at the moment. But you know, he's flirting with his co-worker. The powertrain department, that also looks really good. But that's 2.5 million to upgrade. Then we've got the marketing department. I do like the corporate branding on the office. I need to get the purple in the logo to match the stripes, because it should be kind of a dark purple. And then we have a personnel department, and that's art imitating life a little bit. But that's 2 million we need to upgrade. Everything requires 2 million. It is me. It is actually taken my driver model, and it has actually got the same wheel I've got, except I've got the Ferrari F1 thing for it. He's got a cooler seat than me though. So that tells me that we need to focus on R&D.
What do you think of this one?
Yeah, let's develop a gearbox reliability upgrade and a new rear wing. That spent most of our points. I'm trying to save some of those development points because I want to do some factory upgrades as soon as I can, and those require points as well. Next up is Bahrain, mate, I believe. But let's take a look at the calendar. Bahrain, then Vietnam. and we'll definitely do Vietnam on the stream because I want to see that track. I'm excited. And there's the Dutch Grand Prix as well after China. This is all very exciting. I can't set a rivalry yet. The race overalls are looking better and better. And so my stats so far. I'm guessing actually Podium Pass might not be available to the games on general release. Let's take a look at our finances. I'm always like this with management games. I'm too scared to spend money at the start and it ends up hurting me. Our overheads are actually fairly low. Jordan King's contract was sort of mid-range. I actually wanted Giuliano Alesi, but he wasn't interested in joining us. This is your driver market. I'm sorry if I'm going through this very quickly, but what's the watch button? I'm not going to play a video. So a claim there is the driver's current reputation and ability to attract sponsors. So over the season this will go up and down, and the higher it is, the better. So Lewis Hamilton is the most marketable because you can see he's level 18 plus some change. Vettel second, level 13 plus some change, and that affects the market value. They'll also, their stats will change based on performance. The menu's a bit laggy here. Nick De Vries is the highest rated free agent, which is believable. He's got a rating of 66, but he cost $500,000 more than Jordan King, who has a rating of 65. And Nick De Vries' best quality is actually awareness, which just means he's less likely to bash into other cars. Jack Aitken as well, I wouldn't mind signing at some point, but so far Jordan King's done a very, very good job. Nobuharu Matsushita is there. I don't know if they've only put in the F2 drivers who have super license eligibility, because I don't think the whole grid is here, or at least it wasn't first time round. Giuliano Alesi is who I originally planned to sign, but he's actually worse than Jordan King now, so no worries there. And then these are your contract screens. So 112 days left on Jordan King's contract, which should equate, it said in the opening video, 6 races, but I don't think that's right. I guess it's probably about a little over half the season. Then we've got driver perks.
Here, we can spend any extra money that you secured on perks. Each of these perks benefit both you and your current team. They stay with you, so they'll make you a more attractive prospect in future negotiations.
I'm already an attractive prospect. I'm going to spend some money on media coaching, because one thing that really annoys me is being punished for giving a crappy answer in an interview. And I'll spend some more money on development feedback. Hello, mate. Yes, I hope you're well. Of course I took a day off work. Of course I did. It's launch day. Of course I took a day off. I hope you are well. Thank you for joining. I'm always a cause for worry. I'm always a cause for worry. Right, let's advance some time. Do the advanced time dance.
To increase our acclaim, more potential partners become willing to work with us. We can now approach an additional sponsor from the corporate tab.
No, you were a bit late to the party there, Col. We've already done it, and I picked a sponsor purely based on the fact that I love compound German words. So just to catch you up, Beetlejuice, our teammate is Jordan King, and essentially the car you start with is affected by an interview you have with Will Buxton at the start. So he interviews you first as a team manager rather than the driver, and he asks you about how you prepared the team and what your targets are for the year. And I've seen quite a few of the big streamers playing this game early, and they went trying to balance their car out. So a lot of them picked Honda as a power unit, which we did as well, because it's the cheapest, but it's also the one I wanted. and then they've tried to offset the Honda being bad by answering questions to boost the power unit. We didn't do that. I accepted the power unit as a weakness, and all my answers were pushing towards chassis and aero. And what actually happened was my car in the car ratings is higher than both Williams and Haas, which I didn't see in any of the other playthroughs. So I got the questions right, if there's a right or wrong to this. And we still have the best Honda power unit. So the team's actually surprisingly competitive, to the point that I'm thinking of tweaking with the difficulty a little bit. Let's go race in Bahrain. McKinley Engineering, mate. It's my sim racing team that I used to own and run. I love driving Bahrain in this game, not because I have any particular fondness for the track, because I don't actually. There's some inside curbs that will throw the car into the barrier super hard, and I have a tendency to ride curbs because I grew up watching Mika Hakkinen. But because this is where I think the game looks best, here in Singapore, you get to see how good the graphics are. And just in case you were curious, because Waj and I were talking about it before you came on, they've updated all the cars to the latest liveries except the Mercedes, which I guess just took a bit more work. So the new Williams is in here. Yeah, I'm glad you're not James, because normally James only ever brings bad news. He's the bearer of bad news. Now, I don't know how fixed you are for time, guys. I'm quite happy to simulate practice and go straight into quali. I don't know what you guys think, so I'll give you a minute to think about it, and we will take a look. Better Beetlejuice, definitely. The AI is so far very fun to drive, and less. In the last game, I think they were trying to turn the difficulty level up another notch, because the AI in 2018 was so well received. You know, I felt like I was really battling the AI in that game. They've toned it down a little this year because they had to. The amount of times both Simon and I have been deliberately punted by AI drivers in F1 2019, it got a bit too much. I mean, racing incidents happen, but it would happen at least once a Grand Prix. And even when you clearly made the overtake, they just wouldn't yield. It seems a bit more nuanced in this version of the game, and I'm a lot happier with it. And in terms of the physics model, this one suits me. It reminds me a bit of F1 2016, which was the year I beat Simon in the podcast. I haven't had an accident yet. I haven't spun. And I'm running default setup because I didn't want to bore the arse of everybody doing setup work on stream. And, you know, that can be a problem for Season 2, 0. But overall, I think it feels really good. The AI is super fun to race against, and it's put a big smile on my face. And not every version of the game does that. Up until now, 2016 was probably my favourite, and this has surpassed it. No preference from you guys about simulating practice, so I'm just going to simulate it because I did practice on stream last night, and the car is good for a first car, but it's obviously not perfect. And there was only one practice task that I could get purple on. The others, we were nowhere near, and I don't think that's going to have changed overnight. So I'm quite happy to simulate and take green on everything, because at most it's costing me 25 development points, and I think it's far more interesting to get through to the Vietnamese Grand Prix, see what that new track's like. I will drive practice there because I've never driven the track before. Oh, caffeine gets us through. Good question. I was hoping that you could hire 2 drivers and just have an organic manager mode, but that's not the case. So I was going to use Daniel Abt as an example, but it turns out he can be fired. Yeah, I feel the same, but I know why it is. Codemasters are developing an F1 Manager game, and so it was announced last year that they had the license to do it, and now they're working on it, and I'm guessing they're testing some ideas here for it, because we should be getting a GPW style experience game from Codemasters sometime in the next year or two, and I'm so excited I might pee if I talk about it anymore. Jordan King was a good choice. Look how marketable that boy is. Yeah, I'm super excited for it, and what I've always wanted is a game like Grand Prix World, and you can see the bones of it coming out here, right? Because they've fully animated the factory. It's upgraded as you upgrade. You can see the car in the wind tunnel and so on. The sponsor models are in there, and like the driver stats and stuff. Like I can tell it's a dry run, and I've always wanted a game like Grand Prix World, but with TV style presentation. And I think they could deliver it. I don't want to like overpromise on their behalf, but I think they could deliver it. I agree with you, Beetlejuice, that they've never delivered a management game before, but I mean, what fills me with a bit of hope is when I first got into sim racing, like almost 15 years ago now, there were some guys that I was always a team manager in that, and GPVWC was the only, and is the only, I believe, sim racing league that has like custom car models that you have to manage the team, and then the upgrades come and so on. It's well worth watching actually if you enjoy sim racing. And a lot of guys I met through there are actually now working at Codemasters on this game, and some of them have been there like 5 years or so. You know, we're not like bestest buddies or anything. We don't even talk anymore, but I know them, and I know they're familiar with things like Grand Prix World. So I'm just hopeful that they can deliver something that we've all been waiting for a long time. But obviously, that doesn't mean to say it's guaranteed. Right, quality time. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, I agree. Motorsport Manager is good. I think Motorsport Manager gets a lot correct, but to me, there were parts of it that just seemed too shallow. And I'm hoping the pressure of carrying the official F1 license will encourage them to deliver. And hopefully the market is there to encourage them to really invest in it. The idea that they can share assets between the F1 racing games and the F1 Manager games, I think, should enable a higher level of quality. I'm not sure how I feel about these new opening animations. Because like normally it would play like the F1 build-up music, but it hasn't. Also, Beetlejuice, something else you missed. My helmet design is locked. So the reason the car looks the way it does and my helmet looks slightly wrong is that you start with 5 customizable car liveries, 3 customizable race suit designs, and a handful of customizable helmets. And then you have like fixed helmets and car liveries and so on that come with the 70th anniversary pack and the Michael Schumacher pack. All the other designs you have to unlock with something called pit points. And I have 15,000 pit points, but the pit point store is closed. I don't know when it's going to open. So yeah, that's why everything looks a bit weak sauce in terms of styling at the moment. Yeah, we're going to go out on the softs because we do not have the pace. We do not have the pace to get through on the mediums. I was hoping a Williams was out on track, but they're not out yet because I wanted to show you that it is indeed the new livery. Ferrari don't have the new livery because the new Ferrari has black at the top of the airbox. But I'm sure they'll add that in the week 1 patch because it should be quite easy to do. In terms of setup, I'm going to run the default setup again. One moment. Coronavirus, didn't want to transmit it to you electronically. Increase top speed. I'm going to stay balanced. It may make me a bit slow, but that's fine. This isn't my best track by a long way.
Engine fired. We're set.
Something else that's changed, something that Wodge would have seen when we were doing the last Grand Prix. They finally got rid of the annoying ERS modes on the MFD, because quite often when I crashed it was because I was in a corner and had to change the battery level. Now it's mapped to L1 and there are 2 modes, which basically are charge and discharge. They call it the overtake button. So when overtake mode is not engaged, then the battery charges, and then you hit L1 and it will discharge, and then you just toggle it on and off as you need to harvest or spend, depending on what's going on in the track. You still have the engine modes, which you change the same way, so circle to bring up the MFD and then you toggle through, but I really do appreciate them simplifying that. I know it's not very sim-y, but I think there comes a point where usability and practicality have to take precedent over the cool factor. Nice and slow, nice and slow. The tyre temperatures seem a lot more realistic. There's a bigger difference in tyre pace in qualifying, but in the race it seems to be a bit more muted, which is something else Wodge would have heard me talking about before, but it's something that makes me very, very happy, because when you watch a real F1 race, there is a difference between the tyre compounds, but as you saw with Max Verstappen at the weekend, and I hope you saw the race because it was fantastic, you know, the medium tyre can compete with the soft. And in these games, that was not always the case, particularly when you had a poor car that would overcook its tyres, and it would force you onto the harder compound more often and for longer. And so you'd find that you had a massive race pace deficit, and it looks like that's been reversed somewhat. I know after all these years I should have the corner indicators off, but my brain isn't wired to work that way, and when I'm not streaming or making a video, it's not a problem. But if I'm talking to you guys, I miss my braking points every time without some kind of visual aid. However, I'm excusing myself on the basis that these brake markers that Codemasters give you are always slightly wrong. And if you follow them exactly, you will be a bit slower than you would otherwise be. And you have to learn which corners you can brake earlier or later to get the best speed. So it's not a total cop-out. I had to go off throttle a little bit too long there. I've got a feeling that's going to hurt my overall time. Something else you may have noticed as well is they've re-recorded all the engine noises and they sound superb. I don't know how it sounds to you guys on stream because it'll turn down to my voice, but in my ear it sounds excellent, and they all sound super distinct. The Honda in particular, which is the unit we've got, sounds totally authentic, and I'm guessing it is authentic. They've probably mic'd up the cars. Particularly the start-up noise in the garage, beautiful. Yeah, I may change power units as the game goes on, but at the moment the Honda doesn't seem to be any deficit at all. Can I just say I love that Alpha Tauri? It's my favourite livery this year. It's such a beautiful car. And I also think the game's been a little unfair to Honda, because I would argue that the Renault was probably the weakest power unit. But in this game it's not the case, and the Renault is also more expensive than the Honda. That said, I think at the Grand Prix what we saw was actually the Renault's quite a good unit, because it did seem to kind of manage okay, and we're reaching a point in the sport, I think, where the engines have some level of parity, which is really good. And I've just run out of fuel as I'm coming into the pits. Yeah, I agree that maybe the grid is a bit too fond of white cars at the moment, and I'm going to excuse myself here because obviously my team colours are white and purple, but those were my sim racing colours. My sim racing team raced in white and purple, so I'm replicating it. But I did consider black and orange like the old Arrow, so maybe in Season 2 we completely rebrand the team and we go black and orange to match my helmet. But I don't like the new Haas livery. I know people who do like it, but I think it just... Oh, purple and gold. That's an excellent... The problem is there's no metallics. I think you can unlock them later, but there's no metallics at the moment because my helmet would normally be metallic orange and black, but I couldn't do it. But I love the new Williams livery. Simon and I disagree on this. He prefers the old one, which I liked too. I liked the Rocket red, white and blue. But I do like the new Williams livery. It looks very, very sharp. But F1 teams go through these phases, right? I mean, do you remember there was... I can remember 2 periods of time, red and black. Like, they were all variations of red and black, and it was really, really fucking boring. But you know, I love Arrows. Do you know as well? We could have gone for the Arrows, the 1998 Arrows livery, all black with white sponsors. I always thought that was a very sharp looking car. It was very, very sharp, and it was kind of at the time I remember people commenting on it because it was something that hadn't really been done before. Yeah, I tell you a livery I also really liked. I didn't like it at the time, but it's grown on me as I've aged. The Spiker livery. Yeah, the 2000 Arrows, the black with the orange nose section for Repsol branding. That was cool too. That was very, very cool. Oh, wow, we're kicking the crap out of this gearbox, but that's a bad habit of mine. We are way faster than we have any right to be. I think I need to turn the difficulty up. Yeah, that's too big a differential between teammates. The thing is, this is the difficulty level I was streaming on last year, but last year's game, the physics engine didn't suit me, and I was notoriously bad at the game, so I'm guessing I've just presumed the status quo, and it's not the case. I think, you know, amongst the Haas's, Alphas and Williams is where we should be, and I should be tweaking the difficulty between sessions until that's where we end up. That said, if I can pick up a point at this Grand Prix, I'm not going to sniff at it at all. I'm going to accelerate time a little bit and go out again. Because the track will get faster. Then again... no, mate, I haven't. I wish I had, but if you... Actually, no, to be fair, the last four rounds of the Failcast F1 season, I didn't crash. But I was on a run of like 10 or 12 consecutive DNFs. My worst season in history, and I've been doing this since 2009. If I was a game developer, I'd be better paid, mate, and I'd dress better. That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. Only Norris out on track at the moment. I do love that McLaren livery as well.
Specific information or make certain changes to the car during a pit stop, you can tell me what you want over the radio. Press and hold
do I bother going out again?
Activate the system, and you can either speak the command or select it manually from the radio screen that will appear on the multifunction display.
I'm just going to do a flying lap, because I guess if I drive out, I'm going to get caught in traffic. Yes, it is, and I'll be honest, that's my guilty pleasure. Actually, no, this is a lie, right? I actually spend quite a lot of money on clothes. I'll be honest, I do. But that doesn't mean I'm well dressed. The AlphaTauri stuff, I love AlphaTauri, I do, but it's stupidly expensive. And I just ordered some more stuff from them actually because I like it. But yeah, also I buy a lot of F1 merchandise. I'm a sucker for F1 merchandise. I think it's because I was traumatised as a child because I always wanted an Arrow shirt when I was a kid. And my parents wouldn't buy me one because everything was done with postal orders and checks in those days. And then it was expensive too. And now I'm an adult, you can't stop me now, Mum. And I'm buying all the F1 merchandise. And what I do is I wear it for the season. And then I've got a box and it's all vacuum sealed. And then one day when I'm close to retiring, that's my moment to shine. I'm going to stick it all on eBay and it's going to be my retirement fund. When all the people who are retro F1 nostalgia nerds like us want to pick up, you know, a 2010 Manor shirt or whatever, then I'm their boy. And it'll be the only one still in existence because the rest will have been moth-eaten while mine are hermetically sealed, so I'll charge like $200 for it.
Just 1 minute.
I mean, I don't have a pension, so it's as good a plan as any. I mean, my other plan was to find a suitcase full of money, like in Dumb and Dumber, and then flee to America and just, you know, get a new face with the money and try and evade the mob for the rest of the time. Well, I ballsed up Sector 2. I lost quite a bit of time in Sector 2 because I was busy relaying my retirement plans, but we did break into the top 10 there. Who have we lost? Less of an impressive qualifying performance from our teammate, who qualified 18th or 19th at the last Grand Prix. 19th, I think, but he should have been 18th. His lap was ruined. So Jordan King is out, P20. Russell out-qualifies Latifi, Kel Surprise. Although I think the last game was a bit harsh on George Russell, and I think this one's harsh on him as well. He's really underrated by Codemasters for some reason, and I guess there's a logic to it from the game's standpoint, because I know a lot of people were upset with the driver rankings, and they tried to explain it by saying, you know, it's tied a little bit to car performance because you have to sort of trade up and trade down drivers. We've lost both Haas's and a Lance Stroll. So obviously some tweaking to the game still to be done to represent reality a little bit. Oh wow, that's very, very cool. Do you know, I saw a Cosworth engine cylinder from James Hunt's 1976 car up for sale on eBay, and it's on a little pedestal in a glass box, and it's got a certificate of authenticity from Cosworth, and I so wanted it, but I just couldn't justify paying 250 quid for it because it's an inanimate object. I couldn't do it. But it's people like me who are irresponsible with their money and love retro F1 who are going to pay for my retirement merchandise. It's all going to come home to roost, baby. In the year 2040. Hey, on to Q2. I mean, it does help F1's green credentials a little bit because before Big Daddy Stroll took over Force India, they actually had a business where they would take like worn components and stuff that, you know, in crashes or whatever had to be taken off the car, and they would turn it into furniture. So you could get like a coffee table made out of a Mercedes engine block or a wheel hub, or you get stuff, you know, like they take one of the side pods and put it in a block of resin and turn that into a piece of... It was all very, very cool stuff, and I wish they'd do more of it.
There's a few cars out on track. Perhaps we should get out there before it gets...
Yeah, that's true. To be honest, I did have... You're right, it's coming. It is coming. But I'm insured. I am insured. But that won't replace my F1 merchandise. You've made a good point. I'll have to get a storage locker for it. Is there a Williams out on track? Oh no, they both failed to make it through. Of course they did. Right, I'm going to sit out the first laps because we don't have the pace to get through on mediums, but I think we may actually get into Q3, if you can believe that. Which again tells me that the game's set up wrong. But you know, why not allow ourselves a little good news story, eh? A bit of feel good fun. And we should get some more sponsors out of this, surely. Okay. On we go. See, if I can qualify amongst the Alpha Tauris and the Alphas like I did last time, then that's good. I mean, I believe in Q1 last Grand Prix I qualified in the top 10 in Q1 and then dropped down to a more realistic place later on. It was just because some teams didn't do a second run. I do follow him on Twitch, but I haven't caught any of his streams because I've been really crazy busy with work. This is my first day off in a while. That said, I'm also a big fan of Lando Norris's activities. I don't know if you guys saw an excerpt from, I think he was on, might have been Twitch, it could have been Instagram Live, where he was being assailed by a bee. I didn't know he was scared of bees, but it was quite funny. Fuck you, bee, and having to run away. And he properly did run away. It was quite funny. I hate that corner. I do think the right thing to do is what we did, investing early in chassis and aero, because this car actually holds beautifully in some of the fast corners, where I have a career mode going off camera with Williams, and this car is better than the Williams, definitely. The Williams feels so understeery and lumbery, and I actually, like I said last night, think it's a little bit disrespectful to Williams, because it's not as bad as the cars they've produced the last few years. I mean, it's capable of fighting with the cars around it, so I don't know why Cody's have felt the need to make it so embarrassingly piss poor. Why am I third? This game is weird. I'm sure it'll all be ironed out over time, and justice will be restored to the universe. But I shouldn't be third on a default setup. That's bullshit. The problem is now I'm going to be tempted to crank the difficulty up between quali and race, and then it's going to really damage the team because I'm going to go backwards. Yeah, I'm guessing there'll be a patch this week sometime before the non-Schumacher editions go live on Friday, I think. And then there'll be a week one patch, because there always is when people inevitably complain about multiplayer issues. They always prioritise the multiplayer though, which annoys me a little bit, because I actually find the multiplayer super annoying in these games, because there's not a good way to manage reckless drivers. And sometimes I go for overtakes that I shouldn't. And I was much better at it in F1 2016 when the handling model suited me than I have been the last few games. I'm trying to be better this time. I'm trying to be cleaner. But I got through fourth. Sorry. I should be happy about that. No, it wasn't good advertising. But also, like them turning damage off is not good advertising either for the drivers, let alone the game. No, unfortunately, you can only take the livery, I'm afraid. And to be honest with you, most people will only race you if all cars are equal, because they're children. Now, I shouldn't cast aspersions like that. Of course, everyone wants a fair race, but I always prefer to play online with realistic cars, right? Because coders have spent the time coding in the variability between cars, and also the cars have different wheelbases, and that's reflected in how they take corners and stuff. And it was really bad in F1, could have been 2014 actually, when they first really did physics. They really tried to model the physics. And the Mercedes was a really long wheelbase car. And it would feel completely different to everything else. and people complained about it. And since then, they've always added in the mode where you can equalize all cars to the same physics model, which I think is a bit cheap. But look at that, we've made it through to Q3 in a completely unrealistic... it would be an incentive to play single player, but I mean, I guess Cody's have the data about how people play their games. I mean, and it's not that I'm without sympathy, right? Because the problem you have in multiplayer is the system can detect contact between cars. What it can't detect is context. And so, what I found is sometimes people will spin when they're racing you, and then they'll wait to take you out on the next lap. And you get penalised because you're driving faster than them. So the game seems to think that the incident was entirely your fault. And I don't think you can fix that. Unless they want to pay human moderators a lot of money, because it would be a lot of money, I don't think they can do it.
The car settings screen on your multifunction display will allow you to change various settings as you drive. Open the display with the MFD button.
Quiet now, Jeff. And you can report other players, of course, but I mean that just creates a whole bunch of workload for somebody sat at a desk somewhere who doesn't really care. Yeah, it's not there to assign culpability, but they still attempt to. So I actually had A, attendance rating for my racing leagues, but I had a C safety rating, even though I went out of my way to drive respectfully and cleanly. Arguably, I don't think I deserved an A. I think there's two incidents that stick in my mind where I was clearly in the wrong. But yeah, it's so tricky. And I think what they need for their official esports series, and I guess the real F1 drivers one is over now because F1's back. Yes, you got it there. Yeah, I'm not the cleanest, but I have been trying to get better. But I felt I deserved a B at least. But I think for the official F1 esports series, they need a race controller. They need a race director to make those decisions. And they need to turn damage back on. Because I can't respect sim racers who can't handle a damage model. And the thing is, like, the actual F1 esports guys, you can see they're really good racers, right? And some of... Definitely the quality of racing in the F1 esports series was way better than when the F1 drivers were racing each other. It was genuinely entertaining racing. So, they weren't hitting each other, so just turn the damage back on. The real F1 drivers, though, I think, didn't do themselves any favours in that series because, as Simon pointed out on the podcast, even the thumbnail was just like a 12-car pile-up. And they're supposed to be the best drivers in the world. I know it's just a video game to them, but then again, I can't lay the blame solely on them because what you often saw was a team made up of one professional F1 driver and then, like, I don't know, a barbecue chef or some dude who played for Manchester City once, or I don't know, a professional rowing Olympic rower. So maybe those pile-ups were not just the real F1 drivers, but still. I didn't watch them either because I saw some clips from the first race and thought, yeah, I'm out. Jack Nichols used to be in the sim racing series that my team was in, and we've interacted before. He's a very, very nice guy. He probably won't remember me because we only spoke a handful of times, but a very, very nice dude, and I think an excellent commentator. But not even he could make the esports exciting for me. And it wasn't for the want of trying. He did as professional a job as anyone could have done. But the thing is, I'm someone who actually really enjoys sim racing itself, but I just don't think it's ever going to have the market appeal to draw a massive audience, because there's just no stakes. Then again, I shouldn't speak too soon because things like League of Legends that can attract like insane audiences, or CS:GO. But I think the problem is that you have like a Venn diagram of video gamers and F1 fans who come to this game, and the people who are just really they're gamers, they're far more likely, I think, to tune into League of Legends or something. And then the F1 fans won't tune into sim racing because they prefer real racing where there's consequences and reality. I'm going to say it again, this engine sounds so good off throttle. I love the sort of burbling, spitting sound you get out of the exhaust. It's very, very cool. Here's something I found weird. So Heineken is a sponsor of Formula One now, and they're on all the billboards and what have you. But they're completely absent from the game. Now, I know you're not allowed to promote alcohol, but how Heineken get around that is by promoting their 0% alcohol version. And I'm kind of surprised not to see that in here. And something else, when you're building your custom car livery, I understand why it's legally complicated to give you real companies. I still to this day don't know how Grand Prix World managed it, but I'm glad that they did. You'd never be able to get that now. So I'm fine using pretend sponsors mostly, but why can't we use like the Pirelli branding, the DHL branding, the Liqui Moly branding? I need to check that, mate. I don't want to answer and be wrong, but I don't think it is, because aren't they replacing it with the rainbow like Williams did? I can't remember. But, you know, we can always take a look later on, and I can let you know. But that McLaren livery, since they went to orange, has got better and better every year. You may well be right, Beetlejuice, you may well be right. But then again, like, they were so litigious in the 90s. I'm not sure. They might have done. They might have done. Maybe there was some kind of all-encompassing agreement with Formula One management. My phone's going nuts. What's all this? Yep. Oh, dropped my pad. I'm just going to go grab a cold drink, guys, because all the talking's drying me out, but I'll be back for the race in just a sec. See you soon.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Hamilton, Vettel and Charles Leclerc. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
I freaking love Iron Brew. Yeah, I maybe they just scammed it, you know, and just threw it in and hoped no one would sue them. But I think DHL, Zero Alcohol, Heineken, Pirelli, the stuff that's just all over F1 generally, Rolex, for example, those should be sponsors you could put on your car. Grand Prix World, I don't know. I mean, it is considered the best management game in F1 history by a lot of people. Some people would argue that Grand Prix Manager 2 was better, but it's a cult classic rather than like an overall classic. So I honestly don't know what the sales numbers were, but I mean, it has a following still to this day. Like you can get like a 2019 mod. The reason I've never used the mods is because it was so difficult for me to get the game to run at all, and it's very unstable. Like when I'm trying to do my my seasons, I didn't want to not be able to finish a Grand Prix World playthrough because the mod was borked. Yeah, drink Heineken. That's what they used to do in football games in the 90s as well. If I'm going to show my age here, but I used to love Sensible Soccer on the Amiga, and that just like replaced all the player names with puns or like alternative versions. Oh, I've gained a marketability level. So I should as well, getting through to Q3 like that. What a fiend. Right. My aim now, as a matter of pride, is to prove to Beetlejuice that I can drive cleanly in a race. And I suspect I'm going to fail at turn 1. But, you know, entertainment value. Bear with me a second. It's absolutely fucking roasting in here. I'll be right back.
Successful qualifying, we should be in with a good chance in the race.
Okay. I was really sad that there was no Jos Verstappen in that game. Right, we have some more points to spend. Excuse me, that's the Iron Brew talking.
Something like this.
Roll dampers or monocoque structure. Oh. Yeah, let's develop that as well. I like that they give you a delivery date now, and it's no longer a case of, you know, by the next Grand Prix or the next 2 Grand Prix, but it can actually be quite some time out. Right. Off we go. Wish me luck, and watch me Vettel it, as Beetlejuice was correct. Now the problem is here, I'll be honest, I get frustrated when I'm faster than the car in front, and I sort of feel that my natural gravitas should force them to move out of my way and let me through. But they never do. They never yield to my superior social standing. I shall have to report them to the ambassador. I'll let Crofty do his thing.
For another enthralling race here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. A Ferrari stronghold in years gone by, but will they be able to add to their record today? Formula One returns to the desert today on this exceptional 3.36-mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities. It could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakhir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some point during the Grand Prix. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Why don't we start by talking about Valtteri Bottas? That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
With the race minutes away
There's
from starting,
still a
here's
bit
what today's
of
grid rundown
popping on the
looks
graphics that I don't
Lewis
like.
Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Bottas, Max Verstappen and Ricciardo. Williams, Albon, Ocon and Carlos Sainz. Norris, Perez, Pierre Gasly and Kvyat. Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Lance Stroll and Roman Grosjean. Magnussen, King, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Yes, let's. The nerves always get to me, mate. I'll fold like a cheap suit. I always do. Yeah, it does. You're right. I'm disappointed that they've not added more names to the roster, because I think there's even less than there was last time. Like, career mode's such a big thing. They, FIFA Manager, they have tons of fucking names in the commentary. What strategy are we on? Early pitting, that makes sense. Onto the mediums. I see something that hasn't changed is the game's propensity to propose two completely pointless strategies. Because these are essentially the same strategy, just you can choose to put on a slower tyre if you want for no reason. I guess it's because it has to give some illusion of choice. I'm a bit disappointed that sponsor logos are not appearing on the teamwear. That needs to be fixed, in my opinion. But let's dance. And I agree, 22 cars on the grid. I mean, ideally I'd like to see 24, but let's see if I'm a better starter. That was actually a really good start. That's the first good start I've had in years. I had to lift off the throttle there because Daniel Ricciardo suddenly slowed down. Yeah. I'm not going to fight Albon because he's definitely going to be faster. I will. Yes, there are some obnoxious YouTubers in the garage.
Let's focus now for the rest of
the highlight for me, though, I have to say, is the introduction of Will Buxton. I'll be honest, I'm a huge Will Buxton fan. I think he's been a refreshing change to the sport. Some people don't like his matey presenting style, but I actually really do, I'll be honest. And he's been motion captured, and the interviews feel way, way better than they did in the last version of the game. Way more natural, less stilted and robotic. The questions are a bit more nuanced. He interacts with Carl at your team, which I think is really cool as well. So, I don't know, Codemasters have got so much right with this game that it does fill me with optimism about the future. Right, if I can hold on to P8, I will be unfathomably happy. Perez is faster, I think that's clear, but if I can keep him behind till the pit stops, you never know your luck. And now I'm going to turn on my overtake button to try and get away from him. So now we know green means I'm discharging the battery, orange means I'm harvesting energy, which was not explained to me at any point. I'm hoping this doesn't turn out to be a boring race for you guys, but I'm excited to get on to Vietnam next. The track there looks... I actually thought it looked a bit weird. I wasn't necessarily sure how well it's going to translate into racing, but I'm excited to try it. And then we have China to get out of the way, which I notoriously dislike, but then it's the Netherlands, and I don't think that track's necessarily well suited to Formula 1, but we will find out. Yeah, have a good one, mate. Thanks for stopping in, and I'll keep an eye for you hopping back in later. I'll probably take a break after this race to get myself some food, and then we can catch up after that. I'm going to be live pretty much all day, so people can drop in and out whenever the fancy beckons. My battery's almost empty. I still have Perez all over me. I'm astonished at how well this car handles. I really am. I mean, it's not the best car I've ever driven, of course, but it's good. There's a yellow flag. Someone's retiring up ahead or is going slow.
Okay, clear.
Maybe there was a coming together between two cars. I'm still in P8, so whatever it was obviously wasn't permanent. Pierre Gasly out of the session behind us. Doesn't help us gain any places. Yeah, it was. Do you know, I was so happy for him to get that podium. I can't remember the last time I responded so well to an event on track. It probably was
We're leading our teammate by 7.
either Pastor Maldonado's win at Williams because it was in a Williams, or it was Carlos Sainz coming from, was he last or 18th? To a podium. Yeah, Perez is way faster than me. Ooh. I'm trying to keep my front wing to prove a point to Beetlejuice. Yeah, and the fact he got the point for the fastest lap as well, that put such a huge smile on my face. And, you know, I was a little worried about Norris because he was so highly rated when he came into the sport, and I kind of felt he had an unremarkable first season. I mean, I don't think he did badly. He's also very self-critical, which could actually be the mark of a champion of the future, really, because if, like, even when he was giving his podium speech to the media, he was saying, well, I fudged it. If, when things go wrong, the first person you look at is yourself and not the team, then that gives you a lot of power to focus on what's within your control rather than relying on others for your success. And I think it's a really good attitude. I mean, he can't take it too far because we've seen drivers in the past get demoralised that way and then they start underperforming. But I think, you know, not getting complacent and an honest reflection on what... I love the new graphics, by the way, the TV style graphics. I have to leave some space. Oh, look at that! Who can't race cleanly? And I think him getting that podium just kind of proved that he has got what it takes, and hopefully in the next few years McLaren can give him a car to really build on it. I'll be interested to see how it affects the dynamic between him and Carlos, because that was the first time we ever saw them race each other, and I actually thought he was going to yield. And he didn't, which is, you know, excellent, because it was very, very clean racing, but very competitive. What I am wondering, though, is what it also does between him and Danny Rick, because I'm pretty sure Danny Rick's expecting to come in as a clear number one driver, but you can tell that Norris has a really great relationship with the team, and Zach Brown in particular. And if he starts delivering big, and obviously we can't start talking like this after just one race, it might not be so clear cut. Yeah, I'm honestly of the opinion that Carlos leaving McLaren is going to end up damaging everything, because it's very rare you get that sort of magic formula in Formula One. You know, a team that gets along and pushes for great results. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. It kind of seems to me that going to Ferrari could be the kiss of death for Sainz's career, even though he's a great driver.
Complete, go now.
Because Ferrari have never shown themselves capable of running a two-car team, and it's Charles Leclerc's team.
Let's get some heat into those
So he may have
tyres.
Rubens Barrichello'd himself. Likewise, I don't think the chemistry between Daniel and Norris is going to be anywhere near as good. And I actually think my opinion on Danny Rick has changed a little bit since he went to Renault. He's become, I don't know, there's a bit more edge to him, which might translate to a strong on-track performance, but he seems a tad more impatient, and there's almost like a sort of passive aggression to his cheeky, chirpy manner, which was never there before. I'm finding it hard to describe, but maybe you get the same feeling. And I don't think he'll be happy to move to McLaren and not be a clear number one driver. Yeah, although to be honest, right, when it came time to decide if he was going to stay at Red Bull or not, I said then, and I stand by it, he had to leave Red Bull. Because even though he was getting race wins and everything, you need a team that's behind you if you're going to push for the title. And if you had to pick a team that was in the ascendancy, it would probably be McLaren or Renault, and history would tell you Renault's a safe bet. Because they've built some shocking cars in the past, but they've always got there. Every time they've come into the sport as a works team, they've won a world championship. It sometimes takes years, but they've always gotten there. But the hybrid era seems to have really caught them on the back foot, and they've never really got their head round it. And it makes me wonder if they ever will. The car this year certainly looks a lot better, and I'm hoping that Ricciardo doesn't end up regretting leaving so soon. But still, when he made that decision, it was a coin toss for me. I said he has to go to either Renault or McLaren and make it his. He chose to go to Renault and make it his. They handed the team to him on the plate, basically. They were completely in love with him from day one. Oh no, my Durs is broken. And he bailed on them after one season. And I think it's a bit harsh of Cyril Abiteboul to be lashing out at him over a lack of loyalty, because there's few sports more mercenary than Formula One. But I do kind of agree that it's not totally clear cut whether he should have stayed or gone. I mean, McLaren looks like a great bet for the future now, but a lot of that, I think, is down to the combination of Norris and Sainz working so well. The morale in the team's been on the up and up. They're really focused again. I think Zach Brown's done an incredible job, because he's done what McLaren was always unwilling to do in the past, which was to look to itself as the problem. Because, the biggest mistake I think the team made was giving up on the Honda Works deal. Because for that, they got an engine that only they were using, so it was going to be developed just for them, plus Honda were paying them a substantial amount of money to use it. And all they had to do was listen to Honda, because they kept having all those problems, and everyone was mocking Honda. And Honda was saying to them, we need more space. You need to make the engine bay bigger. And McLaren was so obsessed with the aero and packaging the car as tightly as possible that they wouldn't yield. And in the end, they blame Honda for everything going wrong, and they drop Honda, who go to Red Bull Toro Rosso and win in their first season. And yes, they should have dropped Alonso. He was a pretty toxic influence on that team, to be honest. And I think his legacy has been tarnished the last few years. I think if he'd wandered off into the sunset after his stint at Ferrari, he'd be remembered a lot more fondly than maybe he is now. And that's not by any means to say he wasn't or isn't one of the greatest drivers of his generation. It's just there's more to being a really successful world champion than just being a great driver on the track. You know, you have to put the legwork in away from the circuit, and you have to be able to bring all the resources of the team to bear. You have to be able to steer the team in the direction that you need. And it seems to me Sainz and Norris can do that. Alonso was never willing to. And it sounds like it's Alonso joining Ocon at Renault, because there were some rumours in the Twitterverse from an unnamed source within Renault, so take it with a pinch of salt, but apparently they're going to announce Ocon's partner for next year quite soon, and it's been told to the staff at the Renault factory that it's someone they've worked with before. Well, the veterans have worked with before. And I was scanning my memory, and the only name I can think of is Alonso.
Let's use overtake and burn some of this energy.
Yes, let's. But we've held on to our position, and actually we benefited greatly from the pit stops. Yeah, it could also be Hülkenberg. That's true. I'll be honest with you, I prefer it to be Hülkenberg than Alonso, simply because I know Hülkenberg never made it onto the podium, but he was so well regarded, and rightly so, in my opinion. His Force India years, I think, were exceptional. He put, in his debut season, he put a Williams on pole in the wet. The guy is supremely talented. He's just been followed around by this sort of cloud of bad luck. And I'll admit, he has a tendency to crack under pressure. He's got a touch of the Heinz Harald Frentzen about him. Like, a really strong guy to have in a midfield team, but he flops when you put him in, a podium position car. But I think Hülkenberg will be a better addition to that team than Alonso, and that's not that, I don't think Alonso is an amazing driver. I just think he's had his time, and I think Renault burned Hülkenberg when they arguably shouldn't have done, because he'd been loyal to that team, he was still motivated, and he had a great start to his stint at Renault, and they dropped him last year over some, yes, there were some poor performances, but I don't think it was under any other circumstances enough to get him fired. It was just, Danny Rick was on the market, but look how that's burned their fingers now. I think loyalty flows both ways there, Cyril, and you being so ready to ditch Hülkenberg when a more glamorous option showed up could ultimately have set the team back. And the issue they've got now, of course, is that Ocon has a lot of rust to shake off, it seems. I don't think he had a good Grand Prix in Austria at all, and I think we all need to see more of him. Why is Albon going so slowly? I mean, I don't care, I'll take the position, but why is he going so slowly? We're having a bit of a harsh first season here. This feels like Grosjean in Australia, bringing it home. Was he P7 or P5 in that race? I forget, but he was way higher than he should have been. So miracles do happen. The thing is, I'll be honest, I like Ocon. It's a feel-good story. Working class boy comes good. His dad's a mechanic. The family basically bankrupted themselves to get him in a race seat, and he wasn't prepared to be pushed around by Perez. That said, he maybe took it a bit too far in that direction, and he ended up damaging Force India more than I think is acceptable. But he does need to find his feet again very, very quickly, because Renault as a car company is not exactly overflowing with patience right now, and we're expecting a global recession. It's already started, and that is a very expensive program. And not only that, but F1 is no longer the racing series where you develop and prove road car relevant technologies, because hybrid cars are already going the way of the dinosaur, and it's all about electric. and Renault have a Formula E program, recently rebranded as Nissan, but it is, you know, Renault-Nissan Alliance. And electric cars are the future. They just are. So F1's going to become harder and harder to justify because it's way more expensive than Formula E, and they've got no customers for the power units anymore after this year, and the technology they're developing has no road relevance for them. So, yeah, tricky. I still think 100 million is too much, and it pains me to say that, because what I always loved about F1 was the glamour and like the sheer unapologetic engineering of it all. You know, the way that, yeah, it costs millions and millions, and you used to have tyre companies in competition with each other, brake companies in competition with each other. You know, do you make your gearbox in-house? Do you contract it to someone like X-Track? You know, the F1 of like the 90s and 2000s, you know, the time of spare cars and testing every weekend and so on, like that was entertaining to me, but it's unsustainable in the modern world. And if we had stuck to the 40 million cost cap that brought 3 new teams in 2010, we'd have a bigger grid today.
This pace is strong, but be aware your tyres need to go the distance.
The pace is very strong, thank you, Jeff. We'd have a much bigger and healthier grid today, with teams like Williams and McLaren nowhere near the financially precarious situation they are. And yes, it would have cost jobs, but if they expanded the grid enough, jobs would appear for at least some of those people through more entries. And I think whenever you make the budget cap decision, it is going to be short-term pain. People are going to be fired. There's going to be a period of adjustment where maybe development is not so aggressive, maybe the technology is not as impressive as it once was. But, you know, everyone was complaining about the Halo before, and now no one notices it. I don't see any Halo complaints at all, and I don't know if that's because the Halo has proven itself as a safety concept already, or if it's just that, you know, you kind of just becomes normal. I mean, I remember 2009, was it, where the cars had those ridiculously narrow rear wings, and I fucking hated them. But, you know, by 5 rounds in, that's just what an F1 car looked like. You know, it was totally normal. I was tempted to dive bomb him then, but it wouldn't have gone well, and I'm happy to take 8th. So, and now Beetlejuice has gone shopping, so he can always say, "I still haven't seen you win a clean race, Zero." So you have to be my witness now, Wodge. Yeah, I think Ocon's got my not Ocon, Albon's got my number. But we have outdone ourselves, and we're going to get our very first points for our own team, which I didn't expect in the first season at all. And I will be bumping the difficulty a little bit. I'm trying not to have a knee-jerk reflex on that, because I think in Australia, it was much more realistic. And I want to see how it is in Vietnam maybe, and then, you know, judge it across 3 races, because, you know, as I said, you know, Haas did get a P5 in their first season, so it's not impossible, but it does feel a little too easy right now. Fireworks. Well played, Albon. Whoop whoop.
Pick up rubber and bring it home.
I'm really happy with that. I'm delighted with that. Is that true? Lance Stroll, driver of the day?
That's it for another spectacular Grand Prix here in Bahrain, and a real champion's drive to take the win.
I wonder what our race win animation will be, because I'm in the car. So I can't be like on the pit wall. Or maybe I'd love it if it was a clone of me. There was just 2 of me. And then on the podium, you know, you have me and me doing like a bro fist. That'd be so cool.
That's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I have to give it to Albon. he had my number. The graphics go low res a bit too often for me. I'm not happy about it. Yes, it is lunch break time, mate. I'm gonna go through the post-race menus and see if we've got any new sponsors.
After a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium.
Yeah, I sort of think we should all vote Grosjean every time. And instead of having driver of the day be, relative to on-track performance by the classical definition, we vote for who's been the most inept in a day, or who finished with the least wheels or whatever. I think that'd be a far better metric. The thing is, I used to really rate Grosjean, but
it's time to see how this result
it's just not working for him anymore, is it?
Points for Valtteri Bottas, further solidifying his lead at the top of the table.
Well,
some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony,
come on,
who would you
Crofty.
pick as your driver of the day?
That's got to be the Flying Finn. Wait, how many Flying Fins have we had now? Anyway, I'm talking about Bottas this time. Just great raw speed. And a good job in traffic as well.
Let's move on to the constructors.
Well, it
Mercedes
seems
continue to extend their lead.
Crofty.
Renault move up the table with another strong performance this weekend.
All respect to the fans' choice, they fully deserve it. But I just feel that my pick had a little more on their plate, so their ability to keep a cool head and come through for such a strong finish made the difference. At least in my opinion.
So, driver of the day was Lance Stroll, as voted by the fans.
For more exciting Formula 1 action soon.
But it was Bottas picked by Anthony Davidson. That's good to know. So we're off and rolling with some points, our first points of the season. Bottas 2 wins under his belt, so Bottas 3.0 obviously translating into the game very nicely. Let's take a look at the standing, shall we? Valtteri Bottas is our Drivers' Championship leader ahead of Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. He's got a 20-point gap already to Vettel. That's pretty good. We are now P10 in the Drivers' Championship, just behind the McLarens on 4 points. And in the Constructors, we are P7 ahead of AlphaTauri, Haas and Williams. Excellent. Let's see if that's won us any new cash-rich friends, so I can finally upgrade the factory. Jordan King always looks very deep in thought. And no DNFs in the Grand Prix, so we've unlocked our sponsor bonus, and neither car was damaged in the Grand Prix, so that makes me happy. At this rate then we should be able to afford a factory upgrade by mid-season, which is fine. It's pretty good. I tweaked the logo. I'm still not totally happy with it because now the white of the mountain is wrong, so we can fiddle with that. You can't give him instructions, mate, but I think that might be something they add in later. Good news though, our rear floor under tray will be ready before the next Grand Prix, and we will be heading off to Vietnam. We have some time blocks to fill when we come back. We have no new sponsors. We need to get to marketability level 5 and we're only at 3. So a little way to go yet. Yeah, I'm going to go get some lunch. You guys grab some lunch too, and I'll be back probably in about an hour, maybe a bit less, because I'm enjoying this game so much and streaming it has been a huge amount of fun. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope to see you after lunch, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye. Bye. Bye, darling. Bye. Mwah.